Go Twins.
Yeah, we shall see, because the Twins are moving on. They have won, not one, but they have won 2 playoff games. As you can see, we are festive in our Twins attire because they are going on to the ALDS. Houston is going to have a problem. And this is episode 98 of the Three Guys Talking Ball podcast. It is the...
Bang the trash cans! Bang the trash cans!
It is the Linval Joseph, Tony Saragusa episode, RIP.
Rest in peace.
Here. But as we said, Twins are moving on. Twins 2-0 against the Toronto Blue Jays.
Once again, America is better than Canada.
Amen.
Once again.
I tweeted this out on the podcast page. You know what's worse than having your season end is having to go back to Canada. Ooh.
Yeah. Gross.
They are going to enjoy that maple syrup, though. They have all off season to eat it.
And then to be disappointed by the Maple Leafs playoff time. It's beautiful.
Yep. But hey, at least they have the Raptors.
Yeah. They got the Raptors. They almost got Damian Lillard.
Yeah, almost.
They almost got Damian Lillard.
Thanks, Shams.
But two incredible pitching performances by the Twins in Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray today. And then an all-time absolute bonehead analytics are stupid pitching decision by the Blue Jays manager Johnny Anderson.
Unbelievable.
Barrios with 47 pitches hasn't given up a run. I think he gave up 2 or 3 hits, and then they just decide, walks one guy. We're gonna pull the plug, and they said it on the broadcast that all the Twins were dapping each other up like, oh, we got him now, and that's what happened. The Twins got 2 runs after they pulled Barrios, and then some incredible defensive plays by Carlos Correa. That's why you go out and spend money to get him. Had a hit that gave the Twins the lead, and picking off Vlad Guerrero to end a threat from the Blue Jays, and then turning a double play in the next, or maybe it was the inning before, but 2 huge plays defensively. A lot of the things where in those situations in past years, that's where it goes pear-shaped for the Twins, and the Twins end up losing, and why they were in that 18-game losing streak. But, you guys, there is, and we don't say a lot of nice things about England, but Roger Bannister, the first person, he was an Englishman, he was an Englishman, was the first person to break the run a sub 4-minute mile. And after that, there was a continuous streak of people breaking it. All it takes is just that one for the floodgates to open. Now, is that going to be the same for the Twins? We're going to find out. And as a positive vibes only podcast, we have to believe.
I mean, I don't know how you can. We just broke the longest playoff curse of all time. Like, literally, 18 straight, 21 years.
In terms of just winning a game?
Being a game, not even a series, just a game.
Yeah, because the last series win was in 2002 in Oakland.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
21 years ago. But, no, Dylan, you nailed it with their manager. What an idiot. Barrios was dealing. He hasn't thrown that good since probably 2020 with the Twins. He was ungodly good today. His splitter, sinker, whatever the hell it was disgusting. We couldn't touch it.
But in Toronto, your season is on the line. It's truly win or go home. There is no tomorrow. There is no, we might need Jose, 4 days from now, or down the road here. It's, if you lose, you're getting on an airplane, and we're not seeing you until February. You have to put all the chips in. You have to be all in on this. And he clearly didn't want it. And this tells me that this Toronto manager, guess what, boys? He lays up on par 4s. And he pees sitting down. He doesn't want to win. That's all. And he lives in Canada. So some would say he's a bitch, but that's whatever.
I don't think that's right. That might have been Rocco's 2 best games he's ever managed. I'm not gonna lie. The bullpen usage. I know a lot of people don't trust Jax. When he's on and he's probably a top 15 relief pitcher in the game. You put him between Brock Stewart and Duran, like, good luck. Like, that's a three-headed monster you don't want to face, and we saw that why in these last two games.
Mm-hmm.
Even Louis Varland, he struggled a little bit today, but let him get his feet wet a couple times. He pitched yesterday, gotten out, obviously, but the dude's hitting triple digits, and he hit like 95 out of as a starter. So there's a lot of freaking arms that the Twins can throw at you right now.
And can we give it up for the Target Field crowd? They were electric. Listening to it on the radio and then watching it on TV, just how audibly loud, and the broadcasters mentioning it, how much they played a factor in the game, and that clearly the bats for Toronto were not. It kept them hiding, and they were under the covers.
Correa actually said after the game the only reason they did that pickoff move was because they couldn't hear the third base coach. That's literally, Correa knew that, and that's how he came up with the idea to try and do the pickoff.
Yeah.
Genius.
Smart heads up play too, and
he's worth every penny just off this series alone.
Yeah, just for his defensive abilities.
And that experience, and they're going to need it. They're going to need it because they're playing his former team. They're going to be facing some in tremendous pitching and just a roster that, defending World Series champions. And the nice thing about taking care of Toronto in 2 games, it gives Royce Lewis an extra day off where he can hopefully heal that hamstring up and get a little bit healthier, where I probably won't be able to play in the field yet, but if he can find ways, and even just his presence, where Toronto clearly, after he hit those 2 home runs, they were pitching around him. They wanted nothing to do with him, and able to score the go ahead run today. Luckily, never got into a situation where he was in a double. Well, he did hit into a double play, but having him healthier, it's gonna just they're only gonna get better and give the arms and bullpen an extra day of rest. So to see who I'm curious who they're gonna start in Game 1 on Saturday, but
I would assume it's gonna be Joe Ryan. The 5 days lines up for Pablo to go Game 2, Sonny to go Game 3. So I mean, you're getting your ace Game 2. Kind of. If you don't win Game 1, that it's okay. But now you got your ace going Game 2. Get that win, go back home, take home field, and then you got Sonny, who's been obviously a top 5 pitcher, top 6 pitcher all year.
Mm-hmm.
It's setting up very nicely. That to win today instead of tomorrow is massive for their rotation.
And just to keep that momentum going too, where if they would have lost today, there's that doubt that creeps in. Oh, here we go again. Now we've got this nervousness. Like we have to get out of our that first round jitters. Now it's there. Now they can just go and play free.
Mm-hmm.
I will say this. Houston's very beatable at home. They're under 500 at home.
Yep.
15 games over 500 on the road. So if you can take either 1 or 2, that's going to go obviously big time. But you could have a chance to take both of them here. Like, Houston's not like what they were last year. They're not as great as everyone thinks they are. Like, they're solid, but they're not. They're not some crazy team like they were juggernaut last year.
Yeah, they're not that juggernaut where it's like it's Houston against the field.
No.
I don't think people would be surprised in the national media or just your casual baseball fans if the Twins end up winning this series. I'm not saying they're going to be favorites, but I think you're going to have people picking them to win. And I know that doesn't mean much, and you still got to play the game, but that just, to Ethan's point, changes how people are viewing this Houston team compared to years past. Because before, when they were on these dominant runs, it was Houston ALDS in 3. Houston in 3. We weren't even thinking about this. So, they're not the team that they used to be, but they're still a good squad. But hey, that's why we play the game, right?
Mm-hmm. With how we're pitching, you score 3 runs and you probably got a 60-70% chance to win that game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
And
now since the Twins are since the Twins have won their first series, and ended their 18-game losing streak. We're gonna go back to 2004 and see what the world was like back when the Twins won their last playoff game before yesterday or Tuesday. The most popular film in 2004? Do you guys know it?
I have no idea.
Could I get a small hint? I have no idea.
Um,
Shrek 2.
Yes, that's
Yes!
No way.
Woo!
You know what the
All right now.
the most popular? Do you know what the most popular not fiction book was?
No.
One of the Harry Potters.
No, the Da Vinci Code.
Oh, fantastic movie.
Yes, excellent movie.
And the top TV show in 2004 was what?
Was it Friends last season?
Has to be.
It was not. It was American Idol.
Oh.
Gross.
Is that Carrie Underwood's year?
It might have been.
She
I
would
don't
have
know.
been right around that time. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah.
All right,
So
well, if
and
it's-
then
I can respect that.
a 20-ounce loaf of bread cost $2.09. A dozen eggs were $1.49, and 5 pounds of white potatoes were $1.99.
Okay, what's the real question here? What was gas?
Yeah. Yes.
I am trying to find that here.
If it was less than 2, I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, I'm going back.
I'm building that time machine that Stewie and Brian tried so many times on
Yep.
Family Guy.
And then getting rid of Bill Smith.
See ya, Bill.
Yep.
Oh, Dylan, you'd think this
The
would be
price of
you think this would be the first
the
thing
pr-
out there?
the price of gas.
I'm gonna say $2.29.
I'll say 214.
So it would have been in October. The price of when the Twins won their last, so 2004. It was 204.
Ooh.
Okay.
Well, it's a little high. Okay.
But
Wow, I
at
like
least
it.
Uh-huh.
Rough.
at least it wasn't under 2.
Yeah. That'd be cool.
Better than what it is now.
Yeah. Well, dude, I
Better
remember
than
in,
what it is now.
like 2014 when it got to under 4, I about cried because I was so excited.
Grant, here's a knack for you about gas.
Myers.
Dylan and I live next to Canterbury and Mystic Lake, the casino. There's like
Yep.
reservation land there. There's 2 gas stations. Gas there is like $3.40, Grant. They don't have to pay the federal tax.
Oh my goodness! You should go there.
Every time. Yep.
Dang!
Yep. I should have told you when you were down here Monday.
I totally would have picked it up there on Monday. Damn!
Yeah. Yeah. It was like 3.
It's a big deal.
So last year, that was in my lifetime. Like I don't ever remember gas being over $4 until last summer. Like I remember it being at like $3.99, but I never ever remember it being over $4 until last year. But another good question that you that goes up with the gas question. Inflation was 2.66%.
What is it, like 8 now?
I think it's like 7.7.
Something like that. Too high. Yeah. So and then it says the average price for the year was $174.
Like home? Or what do you mean by
the average gallon of gas for the year was $174. It says.
Oh, okay, 2004. Okay.
Uh-huh. Yep. Ronald Reagan passed away.
Oh wow. Yeah, rest in peace.
Uh-huh. George W. Bush was reelected as president. Kmart Corporation announced that it was buying Sears, Roebuck and Company for $11 billion.
Well, that was a stupid decision.
Yeah, now they're all out of business.
Yeah. Is the Sears in the Mall of America, is that still open or is that
Absolutely
did that
not.
close?
The Sears left.
I don't think so. I think they put something else there now.
There might be one store left, I think. That's it. But, man, $11 billion back then, that's a lot of money.
That's a lot of money.
Uh-huh.
My God.
Holy hell.
Do you know who won the U.S. Open in golf in 2004?
I'm going to go Ernie Els.
Stuart
It
Singh.
was not Ernie Els. Nope. Retief Goosen.
Who the hell is that?
I was pretty close with my...
I've heard the name.
He was
No,
a
you
year.
haven't. No, you stop lying.
I have heard the name.
He would be going right up there with Tiger and VJ Singh. Like, they were all right up there.
All right. Well, I'm not a 2004 Elite Golf mind.
Stanley Cup?
The what?
Who did?
Who won the Stanley Cup?
I'll go Detroit Wings.
04.
There was a team from Detroit, though, that did win a championship in 2004, though.
That would be the Pistons.
Yeah.
Yep.
Who, what?
East or West Coast?
East.
Was it New Jersey?
It was by the Devils.
It was not. It was the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Oh, Caleb. Wow, he would have known
Yeah,
that.
Caleb just missed it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was St. Louis. St. Louis was the captain of that team.
That's crazy. He's still playing, isn't he? No.
No, he's. I think he's their.
The goalie. Never mind.
No, I think he's their general manager. He's an executive somewhere.
Yeah,
or was an
maybe.
executive. I don't know.
In 2004, the cost of a Super Bowl ad was $2.3 million.
Oh, that's it.
That's pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's it. We could have put one out that year. Shoot. Dang. Popular baby names in 2004 were Michael, Matthew, Joshua, Jacob, Emily, Emma, Madison, and Olivia.
What kind of names do we have for kids nowadays? Yeah, shout out Olivia. Kids names these days suck.
I saw a name today when I was trying to hire someone, Olivia, but it's Alivia.
Like, oh, gross.
Like, Olivia.
Olivia.
Facebook was launched in 2004.
Really?
Yep.
19 years old?
So,
no kidding.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Wow. More you know.
In January, Google launched the social networking site Orkut. ORKUT.
Nope.
Well, Google's done a lot of good, but that's not up there.
Nope.
Yep. But yeah,
I'm just happy I got Shrek 2.
That's
That was
incredible.
impressive.
I'm not gonna lie, guys. For some reason, it just came to me. I was like, Shrek was early 2000s. Shrek 2 was great. It wasn't as good as Shrek 1. Shot in the dark.
I'm not saying you're a terrible or stupid person, but that might have been the best thing you've ever done.
I literally pulled a rabbit out of the hat.
Yeah.
Yep.
I knew it'd be some sort of like Disney-esque movie, but I wasn't sure which one.
Yeah. So, man,
Do you guys know who was originally set to play Shrek in the movies?
Robin Williams.
It was not Robin Williams.
That's a good guess. I don't know.
Chris Farley.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that would have been great too.
Yeah, that would have been really good.
Yeah. If you go onto YouTube, you can find some of his auditions for it.
Okay.
Interesting.
But with that, we got a week 4 NFL recap, a week 5 college recap to get to, and then we're going to preview week 5 in the NFL and week 6 in college football, which promises this week in both the NFL and college promises some better slates than what we got last week, even though week 5 was low-key a pretty solid week. Week 4 in the NFL was tough, but the good news is I did go 4-1 in my picks, in my bets. So, sometimes you got to make lemonade out of lemons, and that's what I did. But so to see who is going first in the in our preview of college and the NFL, it is. Boom.
He cheated.
Me.
Cheated. Collusion.
Yep. Collusion.
He's colluding with himself.
Then going number 2.
Hey,
Grant.
Yes.
And then
back-to-back picks for Ethan.
Ethan is number 3. So
Did the best for last.
we're going to start with surprise team of the week of week 4. And my surprise team is the Buffalo Bills. Coming in, they had the ugly loss to the Jets in week 1. Josh Allen looked turnover prone. He was begging for Brian Dable to come back. But since week 1, you got to give it to McDermott and Ken Dorsey and the rest of that staff of the Buffalo Bills. They've committed to running the ball a little bit more. They haven't tried to make those big explosive plays happen every single play. Just take what they give you. Move the ball down the field. That doesn't have to be the explosive play. Josh Allen has more so turned into what feels like a point guard compared to where he's just going to distribute the ball, facilitate. He doesn't have to be the star and make every single play. And it showed out. The the Bills defense was flying around, and that they're only going to get healthier because Von Miller started practicing again this week, and they did lose Tre'Davious White, which will hurt them. But as we have always said on this podcast, I will take a pass rush over a good secondary any day, because if the quarterback doesn't have time to throw the ball, he's not going to hurt you. And Von Miller, if he's able to be what he was before pre-injury and where Buffalo was before that, because that's kind of when last year, that's when their season kind of started trending downward, was when they lost Von Miller in that and an ability a solid pass rusher. So, and then the game itself just absolutely dominated the Bills. That was my only loss of the week because I had the Dolphins to cover the 2.5. They did not cover the 2.5. But the Bills are right now, they're looking like the team to beat in the AFC East, and have positioned themselves nicely after a tough week 1 loss.
Well, and yeah, and Dylan, that's why they signed Von Miller last year, to be the difference maker, because they couldn't get to Pat Mahomes in that playoff game and the year before in that playoff game. So, yeah, we'll see if he can come back and be healthy. Watch out, Western New York's about to throw a party this year.
It's amazing when Josh Allen doesn't try to do everything and throw picks everywhere. Like Dylan said, take the small plays, but then my goodness, were they explosive on Sunday as well?
Yeah,
I think Miami was exposed as that defense, which was a question mark, and the offense didn't help them out. They had some ugly turnovers, and then the Dolphins defense just forgot how to tackle. I think Stephon Diggs had two catch and runs where he should have been tackled 3 or 4 different times and just got out of it and goes and scores.
Well, and then also let's not give scoring 70 in an NFL game is impressive, but let's not forget that was against a Vance Joseph-led Denver defense, and Vance Joseph should not have a job coordinating a defense in this league. And when Miami has played coaches with good defensive backgrounds, they've slowed this explosive ability down. Sure, they beat New England, but they let Mac Jones hang around, and last week they only put up 20. And when they played the frauds of Brandon Staley and the Chargers in week 1, they put up 36. But looks like it's my turn. And boys, I got my notes this week. I'm not going to mess up my surprise and disappointing teams like last week.
There it is. That a ball?
Yeah. So,
baby steps.
Surprise team for me. Caleb was in town. Where does he live? He lives in Tampa Bay. I'm going to Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh.
I thought about that one.
After, even just the first quarter of the season, they're 3-1 record. They're leading their division. Hey, someone's got to win the NFC South this year. And you're going to be 8-9 or 9-8 doing it, but you know what? Tampa Bay doesn't write the rules. But on Sunday, Baker was efficient. He was 25 of 32 for 246 yards. He's not lighting the world on fire, but anytime you're at 7.7 yards per attempt with 3 touchdowns, you're going to win a lot of games in the NFL. And against a very good Saints defense in New Orleans, to only give up 1 sack and have 1 turnover in that game, when your defense got 3 sacks and forced 2 turnovers, that's good. Good things are going to come Tampa Bay's way. And I think, Todd Bowles knows he's under pressure this year, where if it doesn't work out, he's not a head coach. He's going to be labeled as just a defensive coordinator in this league. You bring in a new offensive coordinator who spent last year in Seattle. Baker knows his back is against the wall. And Chris Godwin on Sunday looked like him old self, 8 catches for 114 yards. So, Tampa Bay went into a hostile road environment in New Orleans and got a big division win on the year. And they're sitting at 3-1, and the food's got to be tasting pretty good, and the water's got to be nice and cold down there in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and Baker Mayfield, early front runner for comeback player of the year, I would say. If there was a vote today, and if we had a vote, I would probably put Baker as comeback player of the year.
It's hard not to.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't remember if I picked this team before, but I'm going Houston. This team continues to look the real deal. Offensively, they look phenomenal. Stroud wasn't, like you mentioned, Baker was efficient. Stroud was not, but 16 of 30, 10 yards attempt, almost 20 yards of completion. Like, That's explosive right there. That's going to win you some football games, whether you're passing 50% or not. Held them to under 250 yards total offense. Steelers aren't like world beaters by any means, but they have some decent players around. Kenny Pickett didn't let them beat them with their legs. I think they had less than 75 rush, 114 rush yards. That's going to, I mean, you might not think it's great, but in the NFL, that's pretty goddamn good. No turnovers, clean football. Like for a rookie to go in there, throw, I think he threw, was it 3 TDs on Sunday? I can't remember for sure.
But I know
But
Nico Collins caught 2.
yeah, I was gonna say it's at least 2. Let's see.
I think
Yeah,
it was 3, was it? Or 2?
and Devin Singletary threw another one. Whoever the hell that is, I don't know.
Was he the old running back from
He
Buffalo?
used to play for the Bills.
For the Bills.
Yeah.
Okay, he threw one, I guess.
From FAU.
Yeah, but no, clean football. Going against the Steelers defense is never easy, but they got it done.
Well, and Ethan, to your point, in the first month of the year, C.J. Stroud, 0 interceptions.
Mm-hmm.
And there was that late nonsense report before the draft. He's not smart. He's not the guy. He's going to slide. Hey, it's only 4 games. It could go pear-shaped. I hope it doesn't for him. I hope Houston has this continued success with DeMeco Ryans taking over. And 2-2. Hey, someone's got to win the AFC South also. Jacksonville looks like they just kind of want to mopo around so far. So, hey, we'll see. And how fitting. J.J. Watt gets put in the Ring of Honor, and the Texans defense plays the game of the year maybe for them this year, only giving up 6 points.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And I was seeing on Twitter, I follow John McClain, who's been a longtime reporter down for the Houston Chronicle. He's forgotten more about football than any of us are ever going to know. He's been covering it since like the 60s. But he said it, and it was also a very big contingent of Steelers fans, too. And you would think these Steelers would come out, and especially against a team like this, and then they just came out completely flat. And, I've gotten my fair share of digs in on C.J. Stroud, but just when you see him in press conferences and you see him in interviews, he is a hard guy to root against. He just seems like a great kid, nice guy. He's humble. He works hard, and someone that understands. He just understands it. Like, he was absolutely heartbroken losing 2 times to Michigan. He knew what it meant to the fans. He felt he wanted to win just as much as anybody, and he studies the game. I was listening to DeMeco Ryans on Pardon My Take today talking about how he's always texting the coaches about sending him more film to study. Because that's all he does is he's just a football junkie. And tremendous leader between him and DeMeco Ryans. That is shaping up to be we're only 4 games in, but you have to be encouraged by the work ethic both DeMeco and CJ have, to where it's almost they're going to work too hard for Houston to fail.
Well, and then also, you trade back up in the first round and get Will Anderson Jr. You sign Jimmy Ward from San Francisco. It seems like Houston has the foundation, and they're finally letting a head coach run a football team, and they could build this thing the right way. And all these players, they've clearly bought into what DeMeco is selling, and good things are going to come their way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I already did my surprise team, but I do have to say, I think I had this also as my surprise team. I also had the Texans as well, but I also had Lamar Jackson, Mark Andrews touchdown. I don't know if you guys saw it, but it was probably the best throw of Lamar Jackson's career. But over 3 Cleveland Browns, perfectly threads the needle in the corner of the end zone to Mark Andrews for a touchdown. I saw that and I about jumped out of my chair. That was like, oh my gosh, how did he complete that?
Mm-hmm. But no, so Ethan, kind of circle back to the Texans here. I was going to pick them, but I was like, I can't do it 2 weeks in a row.
That's fair. That's fair.
I can't do it 2 weeks in a row, but I wanted to.
That's fair. All right, disappointing.
And let's go down to a disappointing team. Ethan, back at you.
I think it's a clear cut. Only really one team that you can pick for this. Patriots has to be. They looked absolutely god awful. 10 first downs the whole game, barely over 50 yards rushing, 3 turnovers. I think they gave up at least 2 defensive touchdowns / special teams.
Yep.
Look,
2.
I've never seen a Belichick team that bad.
Worst loss of Belichick's career.
It's just the throw. Patriots were driving. I don't even know what quarter it was, but he just threw one right to the freaking guy on the right sideline.
Was it Javon Curse?
I think so.
Right?
So.
Yeah.
God,
It was the Curse interception.
Good Lord. We were eating out with Hannah's family, and I was just like, it's the one play I watched, but that's really all I needed to watch.
It was very nice to just have a nice, relaxing Sunday watching the Cowboys because it was over like that. Hunter Lipke got his first touchdown in the NFL, and it was nice to see the Cowboys bounce back after a very disappointing game against Arizona, and to kind of get on the right track because we talked about this being a must-win because this week they're going up to a nemesis and a team that's been a thorn in their side and ended their season the last 2 years, and they needed this one to kind of stay in the race because the Eagles are also undefeated to stay not in just the NFC number 1 seed race, also the NFC East race, and they did a good bounce back. But Grant, who is your disappointing team?
Well, Ethan covered the first half of this game from this past weekend. I'm going to take the other half in the Pittsburgh Steelers. And they're my disappointing team because I was bullish on them. I thought they'd be a playoff team this year. I thought the second year with Kenny Pickett, George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, you draft Broderick Jones, you signed, is it Isaac Seumalo? I'm going to mess his name up, from the Eagles, to rebuild this offensive line. And so far in 3 games, or through 4 games, the Steelers offense looks lost. I mean, it looks like the professional version of the Iowa Hawkeyes out there. Same color scheme, just no offense. And
Pickett didn't.
Do you think Brian Ferentz has a burner account though?
Probably not. He probably doesn't even believe in social media.
No, but no, Pickett.
I wouldn't if I was Brian Ferentz.
No.
Have you ever searched his name on Twitter? Oh boy.
There's a lot of negative stuff there, but
I haven't seen negative things like him since I've searched Mitch Leidner's name on Twitter.
That's bad. It's not
Yikes.
good. But Kenny Pickett wasn't great last year, but holy hell has he regressed.
He has regressed. He has regressed bad. And Dylan, you mentioned Brian Ferentz, and people are chanting "Fire Ferentz" in the game on Saturday. Well, in Pittsburgh, they're going to start saying "Fire Matt Canada."
Oh, it has.
And that's
how the burner account is figured out.
It's only going to get worse. And you give up another 3 sacks on Sunday when you're the Steelers' offensive line. You let your quarterback get hit with leave that game with a bone bruise. Your leading receiver in that game is Najee Harris, 1 reception for 32 yards. As a team, listen to this, boys, on offense. The Steelers were 18 of 28 for 111 passing yards. Now that includes the losses on 3 sacks, but that's just unacceptable. And at what time does Mike Tomlin come in and say, "Hey, I'm a Super Bowl winning head coach, and this is unacceptable"? Because
there was talk too that he was going to be Matt Canada was going to be fired either Monday or Tuesday, but I have not seen that happen yet. So it sounds like they're going to keep rolling him, and another example of there's nothing good that has Canada in it.
Absolutely. And it's just you kind of look at that game, and it almost felt like the Steelers maybe they got lost in the J.J. Watt week and they didn't show up. But to just drop a game like that, and when you have a top 10 defense the way that they do, you should never give up a 30-point performance like that where you're just flat and you're not there. Don't give me this nonsense that, we played back-to-back weeks and we played on Sunday night. It's in the NFL. You have a great facility, first-class flights. You only had to go down to Houston 1 hour time difference. You had the fans there. Just a disappointing start to the Steelers season. And realistically, they probably should be 1-3 because they didn't deserve to win that Browns game. Steelers, disappointing week in week 4.
Yep. I also had the Steelers down, but my disappointing team, and it's more so not the team because I thought the team played very well, but When you have the nickname Riverboat Ron and you're a gambler and you score with no time left, your defense hasn't stopped anybody all day. And
Especially
then your
in the second
excuses that they were, especially in the second half, and your excuses that your offense was gassed. You don't go for 2 to win the game. Either way, who cares? It's one play. You're going to win or you're going to lose. And that offense was moving people down the field. Sam Howell, after an abysmal week 3, bounced back, played great, led them down that drive, kept them in the game. Eric Bieniemy, coordinator, hire of the year so far, playing very well, calling great games. And maybe this might be the time that gets him over that hump, gets him that head coaching job he's been looking for. And he might be able to stay in Washington because your nickname Riverboat Ron needs to be stripped because you're supposed to be a defensive guy. Your defense is terrible. And then you don't live up to the name where you need to go for 2. There was nothing, and I mean, I don't know if it's an analytics thing or what, but you have to look at the game as a whole perspective and say, our defense has not stopped anybody. If we can block and do our job for one more play, we're going to win this game. We're going to win 36-35, and we're going to come out of Philly, which is not an easy place to win, and come out with a win.
And with Bieniemy's past, you're telling me he doesn't have 3 or 4 shovel passes lined up to get 2 yards on a 2-point play? I mean, you pull this guy from Kansas City for a reason because he's been with Andy for all these years, and he knows what Philadelphia is going to run and why you should go for 2 there. So, yeah, I'm with you on that one, Dylan. It's just a bad week for Ron right there, and a horrible excuse at the end to say, oh, our defense was tired, blah, 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 blah. Our offense was tired, blah, 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 blah.
Can I stop for 1 second to do another crazy Twins fact that you guys probably will not believe? Today marked the first time the Twins won a clinching game of a playoff series at home since Game 7 of the 91 World Series.
I saw that like 5 minutes before I logged on.
Good Lord.
I mean, insert the Peter Griffin. Holy crap.
30, what would that be, 31 years? 32 years?
32 years, bro.
Yeah, 32.
Oh, my God. That's nuts. We literally weren't even born.
No.
Weren't even a thought.
Jeez.
No, we weren't even a thought yet.
That's brutal.
Wow. Our parents weren't even talking about having us as kids yet. That's how long it's been. I don't even know if my parents were talking about having kids yet in general. Not just, hey, let's go for this loser. Kids in general.
No, 1991, that was probably the last time my dad really, really cared about baseball. Well, that's how long ago that was.
Jesus.
My dad would have been 31 years old the last that happened.
Damn.
That's nuts.
So,
but also, to rehash my disappointing Steelers point, you know how many sacks they had on Sunday against C.J. Stroud? 0. You're paying T.J. Watt $1.75 million a game. You're paying Alex Highsmith all this money, and you get 0 sacks. You know, it might change if Houston had their 2 tackles back, but at that point, I still don't care. One of those 2's got to get to the quarterback and change the game.
And that's what even made the Texans even more impressive, playing without their 2 tackles.
Mm-hmm.
And now have we've gotten all our disappointing teams, right?
Yep. So is it Dylan for the I Told You So team?
Yep.
Yeah, we're going to Told You So segment, and my Told You So team is the New Orleans Saints. Derek Carr, check down king. I know he was hurt. My questions were, I never doubted. I don't doubt the Saints roster. I think it's a good roster, but the 2 biggest question marks: quarterback, head coach. And you can have a question mark at one of the 2, but you can't have both. Derek Carr, check down king. Their leading receiver was Alvin Kamara with 11 catches for 33 yards.
He had 11 catches.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I just looked that up. And at that point where, because he had like a bone bruise in his elbow or something, I believe, Derek Carr.
No, I think it was an AC in his shoulder, an AC joint in his shoulder.
Or yeah. And correction on the Kamara, it was 13 catches for 33 yards, so even worse.
Okay.
But at that point, and it's the same thing last year. He refuses to go with Jameis Winston, and I'm not sure what the situation is. But when your quarterback can't throw the ball downfield, you have to change something up because the Saints look terrible.
Well, and it's the same discussion, guys, we've had with Joe Burrow. It's a long season. If you're putting someone out there at 75%, you're doing more harm than good to your football team. Let Jameis go out there, who's healthy, and he can actually stretch the field on Sunday and try to get the Saints offense going. Because, ever since that guy named Drew Brees has left and Sean Payton, well, they want to talk about, Pete Carmichael, he's a great offensive mind. Pete was so good with these meetings with Drew, and he got Derek Carr there, blah, 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 blah. Well, we've seen 3 years of this nonsense, and it's all garbage. But yeah, to your point, Dylan, if Derek Carr's at 75%, it's a long season. Put Jameis out there because you're doing more harm than good to your football team by putting someone injured out there who can't play at his highest.
Yep.
The Eagles sat Jalen Hurts last year for 2 games because they knew that, hey, you know what? Sure, they had 1 loss at the time, but they were like, we could put him out there at 75%. Maybe he gets hurt against Dallas or the Saints, but you know what? Let's keep him in and get him healthy for this playoff run. So it's okay to miss games if you're not feeling good, guys. People aren't going to dog you if you're trying to come back at 100% to make your team better because you're hurting your team when you're going out there injured.
Yep. And that's all I got for my told you so team. So Grant.
So we're gonna go back to last Thursday, and the team that won that game, and we're going with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I told you guys I love their offensive line. I think they're going to dominate this year, and that's what they did last Thursday. 211 rushing yards, 4.9 yards per carry. David Montgomery with the 3 TDs. Hopefully, if you guys had him, you played him on your fantasy team, and if you played against someone, they didn't have David Montgomery.
Bingo! I got lucky.
Yes. And then even the Lions, their front 4 on defense finally got after it. 5 sacks of Jordan Love last Thursday. Aiden Hutchinson finally got on the board with 1.5. And it kind of looked like, again, through the first quarter of the year, that I think this Lions team is the team to beat in the NFC North, like I said. The one thing I'd like to see this Lions team do, though, is get Jahmyr Gibbs the ball. He only had 8 carries, but he had 40 yards. That's 5 yards a carry. You draft this guy in the top half of the first round, get him the ball, get him going. Let this offense be explosive because Montgomery and that offensive line had a great game, but when they're going, it's a death by 1,000 paper cuts. And if the Vikings defense can figure this out as the year goes on, when you play the Cowboys, when you play the Niners, when you play the Eagles, this death by 1,000 paper cuts is not going to win you football games for the Lions. As dominant as that group was, they got to get a little more explosive. And Jameson Williams is coming back, so that's nice. But yeah, Detroit on a short week, going in and just putting the whooping in there on Green Bay. That's my I told you so team for the week.
We've already covered this team pretty in depth, so I won't go too far. But the Steelers, I didn't think they'd be great to start the year. They've pretty much proved that. Last week was even worse than I thought. But we've talked plenty about them, I feel like. So we should probably just move on. We've done enough Matt Canada hate tonight, I think.
That is true.
Dylan, Ethan is choosing to bury the tape. It's a bury the tape game for Ethan with the Steelers. We're not talking about it.
and Ethan, and also Ethan, one that is not one to be petty, toot his own horn type of thing. So when he's saying that it's time to move on, you just don't question it. You just say, let's move on.
Let's move on, boys.
And let's move on to our college football week 5 recap. It goes back to Ethan. So who is your week 5 team of the week in college football?
Dylan, you're going to like this one, but I think Michigan finally put a complete game together. They looked like the best team in the country. They probably should be ranked number 1 after that. I get Georgia's won back-to-back titles. They're still undefeated. So, whatever. I get it. Keep them at 1. But if we go based off one game, they are without a doubt, that was the most complete game we've seen any team in the country play this year.
Yep. And I think another thing, too, is that I think if there is a team that is affected by the new clock rules of Michigan or of college football, I think it is Michigan, just by the style they play. And that's why the scores haven't been those 50-7 type of situations because that clock keeps running. Michigan likes to run the ball. They've been consistent. Blake Corum's averaging, I believe, about 6 yards a carry. They've been efficient on offense. Just JJ distributing the ball outside of that Bowling Green game where he had 3 interceptions. He's been really, really good. And they peaking at the right time. That offensive line has seemed to have they've found their first 5. I think another reason why there was some struggles early on is because they were rotating a lot of guys, trying to find the best 5 on the field. I think they've settled on that now.
Now,
and
Dylan,
you're seeing that continuity grow and develop.
You mentioned the big boys. Is it 5 seniors up front for Michigan?
Ooh, I don't know the years, but
Okay.
It's a very experienced.
Yeah.
Very experienced. It's been 2. They've got 3 I think at least 3 guys for sure that have been on the starting line for the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And it gets hairy because of COVID as well. I think they have a couple of transfers as well that's been in their rotation, but I think they've settled on their top 6, and that's who they're going to be rolling with. As knock on wood, as long as they can all stay healthy. But I did not get to watch this game because we had a game ourselves that we were in at the same time. But checking my phone after our game got over, it was very pleasant to see that Michigan was up 28-0 at halftime, and able to come out with a win. So, yes, that is a great choice. I don't know if that's a troll pick because they are playing the Gophers this week.
I'll be watching the Twins.
You're playing mind games with me.
No, I think Ethan took the goggles off and said, "This football team's pretty damn good."
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's fine. We're going to be watching. We're focused on the Twins. It's Twins season.
Hey, it's dipping below 60 degrees now. Ethan's mind is on soup and playoff baseball.
In the Twins will be playing later tonight because I think Rangers and Orioles play at 1:00.
I can confirm that.
Okay.
I saw that on the TV.
Do you want to go to Target Field and they're having a live free event watching the game at Target Field? I'm just saying.
Let's stay in touch.
I think it's not a terrible idea.
Let's stay in touch.
So, Grant, who is your Week 5 college football team of the week?
So I'm glad Ethan mentioned that he thinks Michigan should be the number 1 team in the country. My team, I think, should be number 2, and that would be the Texas Longhorns.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh.
They look like they're finally a real team. Their offensive line is dominant. They're running the ball. They're being physical. Quinn Ewers is playing like a 5-star recruit. He's not turning the ball over. He's making plays with his legs. I mean, on Saturday, Quinn was 25 of 35, 322 yards, 3 total touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 in the air. And they averaged 6.6 yards per carry, boys. They had 336 yards on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Against a ranked Kansas team. I understand, is it McDaniels was out?
Yeah, the quarterback.
Yeah, the quarterback was out, but he can't stop the run. We're going to use the Travis Hunter take here for Kansas. He wasn't going to change the aspect of that game at all. And the one part about Texas that I think you really have to you kind of take it back to the Jordan Shipley, Colt McCoy days. They might have the best receiver duo in the country with Xavier Worthy and Adonai Mitchell. And then you throw in that tight end, Sanders. They have the athletes on the edge, and Their offense is clicking. Their defense is playing well, so far this year. And, like Ethan said, Michigan may have had the most complete game. Texas, I think, has the best win on the road at Alabama, beating them assholes by 20.
Yep.
And they're getting ready to play Oklahoma this weekend. We'll find out if Oklahoma is a real team or not. And remember this summer when Urban Meyer said Texas had the best roster in college football and people thought he was crazy?
He's not wrong.
Maybe he's not wrong.
No.
I don't think he's wrong. And I really think I really like this Texas team. And if you ask me, if I was an AP voter, Michigan 1, Texas 2, Georgia 3. And this Georgia team so far, guys, is reminding me of that 2015 Ohio State team. You hear how dominant they're supposed to be. They're going to smash people. It's hard to get these kids motivated. They're still undefeated. We'll see if someone gets them. But as of right now, I think there are some questions with Georgia to be answered because so far this year, I saw this on Joel Klatt's page, they're 67th nationally in yards allowed per rush. Like that Georgia defense.
Yep.
And when you get to an SEC title game, if you have to play a team like Oregon in a college football semifinal or Michigan or Texas in the title game, you're giving up 4 yards a carry, you're going to lose that football game. But enough about Georgia. Texas, they got their fight back, and they're my team of the week.
I would like to see a rematch of that game in the Big 12 championship. Not that like McDaniels, obviously, like you said, doesn't play defense, but that defense in the first half actually wasn't bad. They held them to some field goals. They forced them to not get touchdowns, obviously, but the offense just couldn't do anything outside of like that long run where he fumbled. They picked it up, took it in for the touchdown. It'd be interesting. It would be interesting.
And I agree, Ethan. And I remember looking at the box score, and Kansas, they had over I think 120 yards in the ground, 3 carries of 20 plus. But with McDaniels in there, who knows? Maybe they can go off that little more zone read. So we'll see. We'll see. And and Lance Leopold, he's a good coach. This Kansas team's going to get better as the year goes on too. But for this week, I'm sticking with Texas.
And the other part too is this is typically a game, with Oklahoma coming up this week. This is a game where you would see Texas in the past where they would come out flat, they would look, like lethargic. But when you build your team from in the trenches and then on the outside, you're gonna be able to be able to put teams away, which they've done the last 2 weeks in both Baylor and Kansas.
Well, and even you go back to Wyoming, they started off slow, but eventually those 3.5 to 4 yard carries you have against Wyoming, you're going to blow their doors off in the fourth quarter and put up 21 points. So Sark's building this thing the right way where, it might not be a big lead early, but they're bigger than you, they're faster, and they're stronger, and they're just going to lean, and eventually you're going to fold like that Instagram chat Ethan sent us about the Vikings defensive line where they're all on their back.
That's right. And I'm glad, Grant, you picked Texas because for mine, I had a couple written down. I had Baylor, coming back from 35-7 in the third quarter. Notre Dame because that was my game of the week last week, which was a tremendous game. They also got me a cover. But I'm going to go with your week 5 game of the week. I'm going to go with Ole Miss as my team of the week. They had a tough loss at Alabama where Lane Kiffin seat was looking like it was going to be a little bit warm. They had the mighty LSU Tigers rolling in. Brian Kelly, the favorites to come out of the SEC West right now, and Ole Miss came out with their hair on fire, jumping out to a big lead, and then they lost it. And in the past, that is typically what you've seen a lot with Lane Kiffin teams, where they get out to a big lead, and then they let a team back into it, and then it eventually ends up crumbling. They end up losing it. But they were down 2 possessions late in the fourth quarter, score, and then they get the ball back. They go down and score again. And this knocks LSU out of the playoff race with 2 losses. They can still win the SEC West, but it's uphill sledding because they also have to go. They still have to play Texas A&M. They still have to play Alabama. And I don't know who they have to play
And
out of the East.
I will say they still got to play Florida because that's their cross division rivalry every year. But if you have to go to Auburn this year and play in Jordan Hare, that's not going to be an easy game.
Nope.
No, Georgia just found that out.
Georgia just found that out.
And Hugh Freeze, you can kind of question how good of a person he is, but he gets kids to buy in, and he's won a lot of games, been successful. There's a reason why he was brought to Auburn. You're absolutely right, Grant. It's not going to be an easy game.
Mm-hmm.
But Ole Miss to, be up and then down and then find a way to come back and win, that's an incredible win for Lane Kiffin and his staff. And now,
and Dylan,
there's a lot of LSU fans that are not high on Brian Kelly, but this is who Brian Kelly is. There's nothing that's changed from him at Notre Dame to LSU, and this might be like the perfect marriage of like Brian Kelly and LSU, where they both think they're a lot better than what they actually are. They're both. Brian Kelly's a good coach. LSU is a good program, but they can never quite get over the hump. LSU had the 1 year where they had Joe Burrow, probably one of the greatest rosters in college football, and they bring in a tremendous offensive mind in Joe Brady, who came from the Saints, to get them over the hump. And then after that, they've just fallen off. They've lost a head coach, and they've fired Ed Orgeron, and now they bring in Brian Kelly, and it's just going to be that same LSU team. They're gonna win the games they're supposed to. There's going to be a couple of tight, close matches that on paper they're probably a little bit more talented, but they're always going to end up losing on the road.
They're exactly like Tennessee. Just opposite divisions in that conference. With the talent they have, you should easily win 9 games a year, but those 2 to 3 losses are going to separate you from the big boys in the room. And come Thanksgiving time,
I was going to say, Grant, I would say a better analogy, because Tennessee has fallen. You could probably make that argument Tennessee in the 90s.
Fair.
But I would say in a more recent, I would say the Georgia Bulldogs under Mark Richt.
I like it.
Uh-huh.
But to piggyback on your point, Dylan, with that Ole Miss game, at one point I think LSU was up 5. Was a 3rd and 10 or 3rd and 7. Jade McDaniels hard count. They get an offsides. He sees it. He's going to pull the Aaron Rodgers. I'm taking a deep shot. Throws it to Brian Thomas Jr. in the end zone. They call it a touchdown on the field. They review it. He's got 1 foot in bounds with possession, but as he's falling, he loses grip of the ball and then gains possession again. Probably should have been ruled an incomplete pass. Call on the field stands. Ole Miss is down by 12. Fans are throwing beer cans on the field, water bottle, hot dogs, anything and everything. It could have blown up in Ole Miss's face after a bad call, but they calmed down, they got their emotions together, and they got a big win. And like you said, Dylan, years past, something they don't do. They let that missed call derail them, and they probably lose that game by 20 points instead of 12.
Yep. So, hats off to the Ole Miss Rebels. Let's go back up to the NFL Week 5 preview. And I have to go Cowboys 49ers. I have to go with my team. Sunday night football game.
Yeah, it's easy
matchup.
Game.
2 of the 3 best teams in the NFC on paper. A game that can definitely determine seeding as far as who's going to be if both teams win their divisions. Winner of this game could very well own the tiebreaker of who gets the 1 seed, who gets the 2 seed. Granted, the 49ers aren't going to be fazed by it because they went in there and won 2 years ago. But I would like to see that Cowboys pass rush, see if they're able to make Brock Purdy uncomfortable. I think if you're the Cowboys, you almost want to stack that box, try to make Brock Purdy beat you. Don't allow those explosive plays that the 49ers are able to keep Christian McCaffrey in check, because I think he's the keys to that offense that make everything go. If they're able to keep him under wraps and not let him have explosive plays, I like Dallas's chances. And offensively, if you're Dallas, is with Dak, less is more. be able to run the ball, take time off that clock, because this is going to be a field possession, time of possession type of game, because both teams want to run the ball, and that's going to limit the possessions. And whoever almost feels like whoever's going to make who gets that or has that first turnover or something like that, that's going to make the difference in the game. It's going to be, I think it's going to be a low-scoring defensive battle. And I think, like I said, whoever makes that first mistake could be the team that's going to end up falling short in this one.
Well, and then also, this is big, just Dallas forsaking the NFC East. Earlier in the day, Philadelphia, they play the Rams at 4:05 Eastern. Say, hypothetically speaking, Philadelphia wins that game. If Dallas, falls short against their nemesis in the Niners, they're 3-2. I understand they still have to play the Eagles twice, and they could make those games up. But early in the year, I'd rather not be down 2 games in my division already against that team. But like I said, it's a long year, so that's just kind of the fan in me talking. But again, Dylan, to your point, just shows how important this game actually is.
Yep. And Grant, who do you got for Week 5?
So
game?
my Week 5 game of the week, boys, I'm kind of going off the rails here a little bit. They've been a surprise team for us the last 2 weeks. And if they win this game here, we might be on the D'Amico Ryans Coach of the Year Stan account and the Houston Texans Stan account. I'm going Texans Falcons.
Wow. Two teams that are going to – as far as staying pace
relevant
to win,
on pace and to win your division.
Win the Souths.
Yep.
This is a big game.
Houston starts 0-2. They get back on the winning streak these last 2 weeks. They're 2-2. They're feeling good. They're looking up like, hey, what D'Amico's preaching, we believe in. We believe in these young rookies, bringing in Jimmy Ward from San Francisco. Houston is cooking. They're feeling good about themselves. Atlanta starts the year off 2-0. Big win. No, they lost. I'm sorry, they lost. They lost the first week to the Saints, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
Yeah, they did.
They won. They beat the Saints. No, the Titans played the Saints Week 1.
That's right. First, I thought the Falcons started 2-0. They did. I can't remember who they beat.
They did.
They started off 2-0. They've lost their last 2 games.
You talk. I'll look it up.
Desmond Ridder, was bad last week. Do they believe him in Atlanta there? This offense, they need some explosion in the passing game. If the Falcons go 2-3, maybe they're sitting back like, ooh, this Arthur Smith-led team with Desmond Ridder, maybe it's not the right connection. Losing 3 games in a row in the NFL is not good. So, I think the Falcons need this. The Texans need it. And who knows? The Jags have the Bills this week, and I believe the Titans and Colts play each other. So there's a chance Houston could be tied for first in the AFC South after this Sunday. So
Carolina was who the Falcons beat in Week 1.
Carolina, that's right. It was a division. I at least got the divisional game right. I'm gonna go Texans Falcons.
All right. Side note: Philly's gone full nuclear right now. They just hit a grand slam. So,
so it was what, 8-1?
Philly's gonna try to pull that one out.
Yep.
This is also the first time in a regular full 162 game season that the Miami Marlins have lost a playoff series.
Wow.
Oh wow.
It was also lefty on lefty crime, and it was it was a nuke.
Ooh.
It was from the bat. You're like, oh shit.
Oh boy, that bat baseball's gonna go a long way.
Yeah. But for my team or game of the week, I'm staying in the AFC South. I'm going Colts Titans. Can the Colts keep this good play going? That's just one. They have so many headlines you could go. Are they trading Jonathan Taylor? Is he playing? He practiced full participant today. No one has a freaking clue what the hell they're going to do with this guy. Does he even want to play? I mean, I don't know. And then you got the Titans coming off a nice win, 27-3 over Bengals. How are they going to bounce back? Is Ryan Tannehill going to go into a shell again? Is he going to look like himself? Is Derrick Henry going to throw a touchdown pass? You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a hell of a game. And these games are always just physical. This is what football is right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And with Shane Steichen coming in, he's going to want to run the ball, and they get AR-15 back, from his concussion this week. So, yeah, anytime the division lead is on the line for a week, I'm all for it.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
Yep, and I am actually starting Anthony Richardson this week because in my regular quarterback is out on a bye week. So I'm putting my faith in formerly AR-15. Now it's just AR-5.
True.
I like AR-15. It just rolls off the tongue.
It does. But we got all of our NFL Week 5 preview, and let's go to college football Week 6. So back to Ethan now. What game are you going to have your eyes on this week? I know it's a lot of soups and playoff baseball, but if you have a little bit of time to watch some college football, what are you watching?
It's the Big Ten, but it's not Minneapolis. It's down in Columbus, Ohio State, Maryland. I think this could be a pretty sneaky good game. Obviously, Ohio State's proven themselves down at Notre Dame. They come out, win at the last second. But I think Maryland's a team people might be sleeping on. They've done this a couple times. They're good in the early going, everything. They beat some cupcakes, and then they just get rolled in the Big Ten. I'm not sure that's going to happen this year. They've beaten 3 Power 5 teams already. The most points they've given up are 17. So, they're a good team that has actually a decent defense. Maybe this is the year they actually put it together. I don't think they can really do anything better than 4th in the East. But you put them in the West, and I mean, they might.
They're winning it
right now. Yeah.
And Mike Locksley is still looking for that. Mike Locksley is still looking for that signature win, and this is about as good of an opportunity as he's going to have, because when he's faced those blue bloods of the East, the Michigan, the Ohio States, the Penn States, those games have not been particularly close. Last year against Michigan, it was only a 7-point game, but Maryland got a late score to make that most of that second half. It was a 2-score game, and then Maryland got a late score to make it a 1-possession game. But Talia Tagovailoa, we're going to see Maryland coming into the year had to replace 4 offensive linemen. They're going to get a tremendous test in JT Tuamalu.
They're used to saying that name. That's a first-round pick right there.
Yep. Future first-round pick for the from Ohio State. Couple of another guy, I can't think of the guy's name, but they're going to be tested. They've got some good receivers. But yeah, definitely that was a game for sure, Ethan, that I had written down as a game of the week. It's the big noon kickoff game as well.
That is.
Yeah.
So, for my game here, boys, it's a little under the radar, I think, nationally, but we got the Battle of the Tigers in Columbia, Missouri. LSU goes up to Missouri, and this Missouri team, they're 5-0. They're kind of a sneaky team. They're scoring a lot of points. Their quarterback, I want to say it's Brian Cook. It's B. Cook. Burton III, their true sophomore 5-star receiver. They're putting up a lot of points, there in Columbia. And then also, how does LSU respond after that tough loss at Ole Miss last year? They got to play on the road again against an upstart team that almost beat Georgia last year. They should have beat Auburn. It kind of looks like this Missouri team is slowly kind of coming together where they're going to be able to compete in the SEC, and they can put up some good points. And I want to see if Brian Kelly and his staff can coach up these players and fix the mistakes they made last week. Because LSU, their defense was horrible. This Missouri team can score points. And if they don't get this figured out and Missouri gets a win, they're 6-0. That's the signature win for their head coach. Is it Eli Drinkwitz. Eli Drinkwitz. And Brian Kelly's 3-3, and his defense is bottom 3rd in college football. So big game for both teams, and I'm kind of excited to see how this one plays out.
With those athletes at LSU to be bottom 3rd in defense is absolutely pathetic.
It's
They've got one of the best defensive players in the country.
ridiculous.
Still can't figure out how to use him.
The fact that they're having him playing off-ball linebacker is absolutely ridiculous. Last year as a freshman,
tell you a lot right there.
when he was a freshman, they said get after the quarterback. The guy number 7 throwing the football, tackle him. And he wasn't a freshman All-American. He looked like the greatest player in the world, and now they're having him play off-ball linebacker. It's unacceptable, like Ethan said. And their defensive coordinator coached in the NFL for a while, so he should be this elite football mind, but they can't put it together. So, yeah, LSU, Missouri, my game of the week.
Okay, and Grant, you must be just in a very, very giving mood because I had multiple situations here where I thought for sure you were going to steal my thunder and take my top games that I had, but you didn't.
So
you didn't with the.
I thought about it with the game I think you're going to pick, but I talked about that team earlier, and I talked enough about one team from one state early today. I figured I'd be maybe a little biased towards one state if I picked this team.
So, okay, well, yes. So I'm going down to the Red River rivalry, Texas, Oklahoma. And this game's going to be played at high noon on ABC. And both teams are undefeated. The first time since I believe it was 2008. The last time these two teams played undefeated. Yep. Colt McCoy, Sam Bradford game, which was an incredible game. I believe Oklahoma was leading at half, and then Texas ended up winning, got control, and kind of dominated the second half. And but then Oklahoma ended up playing for the national title that year because Texas lost to Texas Tech. Oklahoma had the lost to Texas BCS rankings. Oklahoma was higher than Texas, and that's how you get that.
You know what? It wouldn't have mattered anyway. None of those teams were beating Florida.
Yeah, that is very true. And this is a game. This is kind of, well, it wasn't where you saw Brett Venables, the Oklahoma season go downhill, because it was going downhill before that, and Texas just made it even worse.
They
lost to Kansas State, and then TCU. They lost another.
They lost to TCU.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is where it really, really imploded.
Yep, and we've talked about how Texas right now looks like the best team in the country. Got one of the best wins of the season it's probably 1A, 1B between Texas beating Alabama in Tuscaloosa and Ohio State beating Notre Dame in South Bend. Texas, I think, is going to this game is – I don't think Oklahoma is good enough in the trenches. I don't trust Dylan Gabriel, even though he has looked good, but they struggled on the road against Cincinnati, a team that they should have won by – if we're going by talent, should have won by 3 or 4 touchdowns. Texas dominates the trenches on both sides of the ball, and I think Oklahoma is overrated, and I think Texas stomps them. Let me see here what the spread is for this game, and because it's Texas 6.5. Texas is going to win by more than 6.5 points. It's going to get ugly, and it could get ugly fast. Unless Texas resorts back into the old Texas where they are sloppy, they come out flat, and have a couple of turnovers, which gives Oklahoma some short fields where they are very capable of capitalizing. But right now, from what I've seen, Texas, they're not going to come out flat against their most hated rival. They want that. Well, they want to keep that golden cowboy hat in Texas, and I think Texas stomps them.
And last Big 12 Red River rivalry as members of the Big 12 conference.
Oh, yeah, that is true.
Next year, this game jumps over to the SEC.
That is correct. Cool. And that wraps up the review preview edition here of the show. Let's go over to Grant for Curveball of the Week here. What do you got here?
All right. So, as you guys know, Caleb and family, they're visiting from Florida this last week. And Caleb's dream his whole life was to go down and live in Florida and buy a home and be able to put Christmas lights on a palm tree. Wake up Christmas morning, you see your palm tree outside with Christmas lights on. So that got me thinking, if you were to move out of either Minnesota or North Dakota, what would be your dream state you could move to?
Maine. I'm just kidding. No.
North Dakota, no, I'm just total joke. But I don't want to be joking. Like, obviously, me and Hannah, you guys both don't want to move to Charlotte, but I don't know if that's like the dream place.
The dream, the dream.
I don't know. After going to Montana, that might be the spot out by Glacier.
Ethan's putting his cowboy boots on.
That was ungodly amazing. Yeah, I might get a little cold here and there, but I've lived in it for 30 years. Why the hell? What's another 15, 20 if I'm lucky?
And yeah, I think those summers and being up by Glacier would really be worth it.
Yeah, I think so.
Ooh. I would probably have to say, I've had jobs where I've had to work outside, work in the cold. I don't want to deal with cold again, so I'm moving somewhere warm. Part of me would want to say Florida, but there's pythons that pop up out of the toilet. I don't want to deal with that. So I think if I had to move somewhere, I think I would go down. I would still go in the south. I'd also go to a place that has no state income tax. I'm going down to Texas.
There you go.
Yep, I'm going down probably in that Dallas area. Watch the Cowboys play. Go check out the Red River rivalry.
It's a Texas
where
State,
that is. I got
Texas State Fair this week too.
Texas State Fair. Yep. So I was there the week before that game was played, but I remember we were trying to drive through it and tried seeing all the cars that were just trying to get into the parking lot to go to this Texas State Fair. Oh my word, was the traffic ridiculous.
Yeah, 35 through Dallas, Fort Worth, you don't want to mess with.
No.
But it's warm. It can get a little bit chilly, but nothing terrible where I'd have to be like wearing like 6 or 7 layers of clothing.
Mm-hmm.
Occasional winter coat. I'm well equipped to be able to drive in that weather because I live in the north where we have terrible and crappy roads. All the other idiots is what I'd have to worry with. But yeah, I think Texas is where I would go.
Okay. Yeah, and for me, I'm debating between 2 states, but the region of either state I pick is damn near close to each other. And just because I think the quality of football is better, I'm going down to Georgia.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Underrated pick.
Underrated place, especially the northern part of the state where you still got some of the Smoky Mountains there.
Time out. Ethan, we've cracked the code here. Grant says he wants to move down to Georgia. You know what's located and headquartered in Georgia? Chick-fil-A. Grant is a closet Chick-fil-A fan. We busted him. You're busted. You're done.
God damn, Alec building these distribution centers for Chick-fil-A has changed my mind. With that, got me.
Gotcha.
Yep. But yeah, well, just kind of living, maybe a suburb of northern Atlanta there. You're still by the big city. Good sports, good football, great food. I love me some peach cobbler, some peach pie. Like I said, you're real close to the Smoky Mountains if you want to have a quick getaway for a vacation. Down there, it's warm.
The Masters.
The Masters is right there if you want a quick.
And I don't think that helps your chances of getting in if you're from Georgia.
No, not a chance. If you want to drive down for a nice weekend, you're close to Savannah. You can go to Charleston. You can go to Myrtle Beach. Gatlinburg. Hey, if Ethan's in Charlotte, hey, quick drive, Ethan. I'm coming up. Yeah, I'd have to go with Georgia. Again, that southern part of the country. It's warm. You could play golf year round, different sort of physical activities to do outside. So give me the Peach State.
All right, there it is. And that concludes episode 98. In 2 weeks we will be reaching 100 episodes. Crazy to think. Who would have thought, guys? Us 3 hooligans talking for 100 episodes, and it's going to be there. We have a special guest lined up lined up. We won't be revealing it yet because we won't share it until it happens. But very excited about our guest that's going to be joining us, because when you reach 100 episodes, you got to do it right. You got to bring on the best, and that'll come in a couple of weeks. But episode 98 is wrapped up. We'll have the segments of the show out on YouTube on Friday. Make sure you go subscribe there. Check us out on our social medias: Facebook, Three Guys Talking Ball Podcast; Instagram, TikTok, X, 3GTB Podcast. As well, we'll be posting segments of the show. Posting game recaps of our teams, hopefully positive ones. Purdue, Iowa for Grant, which thankfully for that game is going to be on Peacock, and neither team is probably going to win, but America's going to win because it's not going to be on national television. Michigan correct. Gophers are playing on Saturday. Always going to be a fun game. Wish we would have been able to make that work to come out and watch that game. Twins were playing at home. That would have been very more enticing to go, but I guess that'll have to come. That'll come in time, is when we all meet together. And yeah, so thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back for episode 99 next week.